Okay, so we're excited to shift the conversation to a program that we are excited and proud to partner with a lot of folks in this community on, and one that I think that can really make a positive impact and feels like a bright light in a conversation with a lot of challenges. When we pulled the Business Leaders Task Force together last year, we asked them, what are the core things that you want to do? Where are the areas that you want to impact? And one of the number one things that they said is workforce. As a business community, we're struggling to fill our jobs. We have voids and vacancies in our companies. And we want to see unhoused individuals who are willing and able to get back into the workforce have an easier path to do that. And so what we did is we went out and we invited some service providers in. We sat down with unhoused individuals, and we sat down with employers, and we said, how do we break the barriers between these two groups of individuals to try to create some opportunities? So Sylvia is going to join us today to talk a little bit about where that work is going, some of the partners that we have at the table. But one thing I do want to point out is the importance of bringing unhoused individuals into the conversation. There are several folks in this room who have lived experience being unhoused. Several who are on the stage today you may or may not realize. And we really believe that is core to this conversation. And it's been really key for us as the chamber and the business community to make sure that we're not just coming at this from a perspective that we don't maybe understand ourselves what that feels like, but we really want to be engaging with those individuals. So this is an area where we felt like we've gained a lot of experience and understanding from folks who are finding themselves in those situations, and they've really helped to guide this program. Sylvia?
Hello. Good morning, I think, still. For those of you I don't know, I am Sylvia Berry. I am here to talk to you today about workforce development, which does not sound exciting, but I'm really excited to be with you. Couple disclaimers, I am not a workforce development expert, nor do I love public speaking, so I'm gonna stay on script. I am a nonprofit, roll up your sleeves, get stuff done, community do-gooder. And when I started working with Brittany a few years ago, we said, where can we roll up our sleeves and make a difference? Workforce development, as Brittany mentioned, was near the top of the list. It has definitely been a bright spot for us, and we are hopeful it's a way for many of you to get involved. So, a little context. Next slide, please. A little over a year ago, we gathered a group of cross-sector leaders, employers, nonprofits, employment service organizations, HR experts, all around smart people, who quickly realized it is very hard to hold employment while living on the streets. So, they noticed, though, as mentioned earlier, there are over 1,000 people stabilizing at our shelters. This is hard when I don't have a clicker, so bear with us. They are working towards becoming more stable, housed, and employed, but there are a ton of barriers. They're just getting over the trauma of having survived living on the street, let alone they may have lost their IDs or need some support services around addiction treatment. Getting over those barriers is a big piece of it, and the committee decided, where can we get involved? We can partner and support with our shelters. We can help add bandwidth to their staff and help their clients in a handful of ways: training programs, potential pilot programs, employment services, and transitional and part-time jobs. We set a goal, always good to have a goal, aiming to help about 10% of shelter residents with their employment pathway. And then we started with, next slide, our beloved local food shelter. So the Food for Lane County has many wonderful programs. Hopefully everybody knows and loves them. What you may not know is that they have had a warehouse training for several years that they've offered to the general public. They have small cohorts that they go through, work side by side with their staff members to gain experience and get some skills. We approached them and said, would you have some shelter residents that could participate? And they paused and said, let's have only shelter residents. We love this. This aligns with our mission. So right now, today, happening this moment, they're the first cohort of fully shelter resident participants. This is why I need to stay on script. is about halfway through the 12-week training program. You'll see the Food for Lane County and shelter staffs meeting here, as well as one of St. Vincent de Paul's residents who's been working for several weeks. They're going to graduate in November if you're looking for warehouse workers. And we're hearing amazing feedback. Food for Lane County says this cohort is as good or better than any cohort they have ever had. The shelter said the word is spreading and there is now a waiting list to get into this training program. So, yay! Small but bright star. The next training program we've been working on has been with Mitra Gruel and Viking Textile Maker Hub. They had industrial sewing classes that we approached them about transforming into a training program for shelter residents. And then we quickly partnered with Crew Boss. They're the sister organization to Western Shelter that makes all the fire gear. And they stepped forward to help co-develop the curriculum, creating those beautiful bags, which apparently needs like every bell and whistle and stitch and pocket and zipper you could imagine. The beta test just finished, went really well. Applications are going out to the shelters next week. Looking at my shelter folks. And the first cohort will be running the first 2 weeks in November. So beyond those trainings, we've also been exploring pilot programs, and we're really trying to look for that triple win that supports both the employee, the employer, and hopefully has that larger community good. And we're looking at how to spotlight and potentially help expand some of the great programs already happening at our shelters. Next slide, please. They're doing incredible work. There's already a lot of workforce development happening. We really want to spotlight and figure out how we can expand these. I am going to do one special shout out. Gabe mentioned earlier on the next slide. You'll see the recycling center that is happening right now at Everyone Village out in West Eugene. In partnership with OBRC, we're really inspired by this. And Gabe, I actually brought flyers from your staff that people can grab on the way out if you want their address and the hours to drop off your cans. So, yay, shelter partners. All right, the third area, beyond the trainings and pilot programs, the third area we have focused on is employment support. We heard over and over again from both employers and the shelter partners, it is easier to get a job than keep a job. Job readiness and job retention are absolutely critical. So we have been establishing a stronger connection between the shelters and the employment organizations, exploring how we can provide soft skill workshops, coaching, and other employment supports to the shelter clients. And last but not least, the fourth area we're working on to develop is a menu of job opportunities. And this is where many of you can help. With the pandemic and employee shortage over the past few years, you've probably already been making a lot of modifications to the type of jobs you offer. Yes? Everybody's making modifications? What we'd love for you to think about with shelter residents in mind are part-time positions that allow people to keep working on their stabilization journey. Low barrier positions, and we're gathering some great examples like Bimart, who have changed the need for a diploma to job-appropriate tests when possible, lowered drug testing requirements for some of their positions, and are offering on-demand pay. We would love to hear your examples. We're also looking at examples for flexibility and support, like Lance Cabinets, who's partnered with Catholic Community Services, and they're experiencing a 90% retention rate. Ideally, these roles lead into jobs with more responsibility. And next slide, because I'm getting the 2-minute, is the benefit for all of you as employers. Lots of benefits beyond supporting the community. It's a new pipeline for employees who have support. They have a support system. Wouldn't that be amazing if all of your employees had that? There are financial incentives, and we're hoping to put together a cohort of employers so you can tell us even more what you need. This brings me to my final slide and the request. If you have any interest in getting involved, best practices to share, ideas for other training or pilot programs, interest in developing these part-time low barrier positions, or most timely, if you employ warehouse workers or industrial sewers, please call me. And if you don't know Donovan, is he still here? Waving his hand. He's a great resource. So if you have a position that you feel like already is a good fit and you're ready to post, or you have more questions around what employer benefits are, because that is not my expertise, call Donovan. Thank you so much for listening and for helping move this work forward.